Welcome to Fake Presidents, a real podcast about, well, you know.
Each episode, we'll take a deep dive into a fictional American president from pop culture to see just how much fiction there really is. You see, we're two former political junkies who do like talking about politics. Mm-hmm. We just don't like talking about actual real-life politics.
Mm-hmm, because it's just too damn depressing.
I'm Eric Buckman, a former political consultant turned TV writer.
And I'm Ben Oren, a former journalist, sometimes speechwriter, and all-the-time TV producer.
And happy President's Day!
Bow, 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 bow.
To celebrate, we're going to do something that I think we've really only done once before.
We've only, seen a contemporary movie, a movie that has come out this weekend.
Yes.
That has a fake president that we are aware of. We're there for this. This was opening day. Do we do that for Civil War?
We were there opening weekend in Alex Garland's Civil War to see Nick Offerman as the president.
Maybe it was a Friday. It was a Friday that we saw Civil War.
Or it was Saturday afternoon.
It was the spring of 2024.
Oh, so long.
It was like a magical time back then. That was when you saw a movie like Civil War. You're like, how ridiculous is that? Could that actually happen?
A third-term president thumbing his nose at the Constitution?
Yeah. Wow.
Pissing off both California and Texas enough that they would join together to
join forces.
Okay, that's still fiction. But we're very excited to be returning back into the old Harrison Ford pool of presidents.
Not only the old Harrison Ford, we're going back into the Marvel sandbox.
We've been in Marvel before.
Ford sandbox.
Is he our first two-termer? And when I say two-termer, I mean the first actor that we've covered playing two different presidents. Like, did such a good job. They said, we want you back as someone else.
If we're doing that, I would have to then say he's probably the only actor to have ever played the president twice as two different characters.
No, Morgan Freeman has done.
But then have we covered that on this show?
Well, we did Deep Impact.
Then it did not happen.
Did Angel Has
we did
Fallen.
do it. We did both.
Yeah.
He's been president. Yeah, never mind then.
Yeah.
We've totally done that. I think even if nobody has ever seen a movie ever, if given that trivia question, they'd probably be like Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
He definitely did it at least twice.
It's President Day weekend. It's also, this weekend, celebrated another milestone, the 50th anniversary of SNL.
Wow. Is it really it came out this weekend 50 years ago, or are they just like deciding, it seems like it would have started in the fall. My
recollection, I was not alive back then, but I think it was like a mid-season launch. Who knows? It's not like there's a movie all about that first showing.
Like there's a movie, a documentary. I think tonight there's the musical concert. They are milking this thing.
Speaking of milking it, though, we milked it previously. So for those of you who are used to Ben and Eric going kind of off format for President's Day, we did a whole Sweet 16 tournament of presidential impersonators who've been on Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
And so
that was long. That was aggressive. That was an aggressive evening.
It was.
We did the whole tournament in one night.
It was probably the hardest episode that we ever had to do, not just in terms of recording wise, but prep wise. We had to watch so many seasons of that show, gather so many clips, be familiar with so many different people from so many different eras.
We had to talk for so long. That was a really long episode. In my mind.
Yeah, and then we had to edit down into something that our audience would actually accept as releasable. Mm-hmm. But that said, it's out there. If you're into SNL, if you want something that celebrates that milestone, it's there. Check it out.
We're basically part of SNL history as well.
Okay, so today we are doing...
Oh, yeah, we didn't even say what movie we're doing.
We're doing Harrison Ford as President Thaddeus Ross in 2025's Captain America, Brave New World.
Yeah, the latest in the Marvel universe, which is like last year was a slow year for Marvel. This year is a very busy year.
They're catching back up. They slowed down for a number of reasons.
Jonathan Majors stuff.
Well, the major stuff, but you also had the COVID slowdown, you had the strikes slow down, and then you had them realizing that, I guess, the 1-2 punch of Quantumania, the third Ant-Man movie, and then the Marvels neither performing as well as they would have liked, led some internal decisions to be made about their output. But now they're back at it. They just had the number one movie of last year, definitely the number one R-rated movie of last year, if not the number one movie last year, Deadpool
Oh yeah,
and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
And then now they've got Captain America: Brave New World in May, Thunderbolts
They got Fantastic Four in July.
in July. We saw a trailer for that. So that's at least 3 this year. So
And all of them could have a separate fake president.
theoretically, yes.
I mean, based off of what we saw in this movie, not to give anything away, but there's probably a different president in Thunderbolts, even though
Right.
you would think that we thought it was like specifically named after him, but it probably still is. Who knows? Maybe that's the asterisk that they keep on bringing up in the trailers for the movie. They're like, Thunderbolts, that's a terrible name. I was like, why is that a terrible name? It's actually a pretty cool name. If somebody called me Thunderbolt, I'd be like, thanks. I love that nickname. That's much better than my other nicknames.
Yeah, we'll get into that. In fact, we'll play the good old spoiler horn at a certain point in this episode. So
Spoiler
let's see.
horn.
Not yet. We'll have a spoiler-free discussion first, and let's see how deep we can get into President Ross before we have to break out the spoiler horn and warn off all the people who still want to see the movie before they hear how it ends.
That was such a nice natural thing where I heard the boom, like that was wonderful.
You could hear the bumper?
I could hear the bumper.
Get off my plane.
So, Captain America: Brave New World. It's directed by Julius Ona, who previously directed The Cloverfield Paradox.
That's probably the movie that most directly led him to get this.
It didn't do well, right?
Well, that was the movie that it was made.
It was made, yes. As we all know, it was a movie that was filmed and released.
It was made and did not have a release date. And be like, what's going on with that? And all of a sudden, during the Super Bowl, there was a commercial for The Cloverfield Paradox. Watch it after the game on Netflix tonight. I think it was Netflix. And so it's like this surprise release.
Yeah, that's the thing that I want to do after watching a football game for 4.5 hours where I'm stuffed up on wings and cheese and refried beans after I've drank at least 7 beers. All I want to do is sit back at approximately, I don't know, if I'm on the East Coast, it's 11 p.m. on a Sunday night. I have work tomorrow. I'll watch this sci-fi movie. Cool.
Produced by J.J. Abrams. Gotta be fun, right? It's the 3rd movie in the Cloverfield franchise.
Usually those are the winners.
Yeah, number 3 is the charm. Well, speaking of the 3rd...
He must have done, he did a good enough job that he got this gig.
Well, it's interesting. One of the stars of that movie was, I'm not trying to pronounce his name, Daniel Bruhl. He was the guy who played Zemo in Captain America: Civil War.
It's Daniel Bruhl.
Yes.
Because he's German.
Yeah, a character who could have appeared in this, but did not.
Brave New Bruhl.
I'm going to start reading the list of the people who wrote it, and you could just stop me once we run out of time for the episode.
No, I did the research. Did you check to see some of their backgrounds?
Well, I mean, I know the big name that stuck out to me is Malcolm Spellman because he was the head writer of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes, that's correct. The most interesting one is Rob Edwards, who I've never heard of before, but I checked out his credits, and he goes back hard.
Oh, wow.
He wrote on In Living Color. He wrote on Full House. He wrote on A Different World. So he did the 90s correctly as a TV writer. And then he switched over to animation. He did The Princess and the Frog and Treasure Planet.
Yeah, so Rob Edwards, Malcolm Spellman, Dylan
Mousson, who was also the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Julius Ona has a writing credit.
Peter Glanz, I don't know how he got this gig, but good for him.
This movie, it technically comes after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but as I told my daughter going into it, you don't need to have seen that. And because you don't. Like the moment at the end of Endgame when Steve Rogers hands Sam Wilson the shield, that's all you need to know going into this.
You need to know who Isaiah Bradley is.
They do introduce that character in there. I mean, there's enough exposition to let you know what's going on, but yeah, he does get a much better intro in that series. Otherwise, if you're going to watch any movie before watching this, maybe watch 2008's The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, you have to watch, and don't question about Ed Norton at all. He's like the least important part of the equation for understanding this movie.
I so hope he appears in Secret Wars when they do the big multiverse mashup.
They should. It worked very well with Spider-Man, so you know what? I'll take 3 Hulks.
Eric Bana.
I'll take a She-Hulk. Throw a She-Hulk in there also.
Oh, she should have been in this.
Actually, she could have because she's a lawyer, so she could have repped Isaiah Bradley. trying to get out of jail, which we'll get to later in the episode.
She could have appeared at many points in this. Yeah, if this is a little shaggier of an episode than we typically do, Ben and I just saw the movie. We are sitting down now at our computers recording our thoughts on it. We don't have our usual exhaustive notes.
We typically, we watch every movie 2 to 3 times. We type out specific lines that are said. We get really into the dramaturge of it all. But we just saw the movie 2 hours ago.
Yeah. Okay. So far we named 2 actors who are not in this movie. Let's just focus on the ones who are.
You don't want to name other actors who aren't in the movie?
Okay, fine. Who else is not in the movie, Ben?
Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cary Grant.
No, you're right. He was not in the movie.
Timothy Dalton.
Not in the movie. Yeah. Shira Haas.
Oh, she was.
Oh shit.
My guess is I don't know how tall she is in real life, but in the movie she looks like she's like 4'11".
I mean, she looks like a munchkin. She looks like she came in from the set. Like she went to audition for a role in Wicked, and she walked into the wrong room. She is that small. I'm assuming there are I haven't seen Wicked, but I'm assuming there are munchkins in Wicked.
But they're like bigger people.
Wait, they're bigger? They have big munchkins in Wicked?
They're like shorter than the non-munchkins. It's like you and me. I would qualify for a munchkin by the new Wicked rules of who's a munchkin. You said be like shorter than average.
Fucked up. So all these roles that could have gone to little people.
Yes.
They went to regular sized people. So all these little people hear that they're making Wicked.
Yeah.
And there's not too many roles out there for little people. And they're like, yes, finally. These are roles where we will be respected, where, it's not like I'm the one little person here. It'll be a whole group of little people. We'll be able to extend like our SAG benefits. This is great. They call their agent. They're like, when am I going in for Wicked? I'm the best known, other than Peter Dinklage. I'm one of the better known little people out there. Put me in. And they're like, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Ben.
So maybe, well, Shira she's Whittle, but she plays a security advisor to the president.
But not the national security advisor.
No.
She's more of a private security advisor?
Private security advisor. I mean, originally she was supposed to be a Mossad agent, but they took that out of the movie.
They pulled back on that. But I'm not clear when they pulled that out because that was in a comic book thing. So they might have made the decision to deep six that when they, during the first draft, 5 years ago. Okay. You also we mentioned Carl Lumley playing, he was part of like a Captain America-esque super serum soldier program.
No, he was part of like the Tuskegee version of it.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah.
After the success of Steve Rogers and the death of the scientist who helped do that, played by Stanley Tucci in the first Captain America movie, which talked about amazing cast, by the way. I rewatched that recently with my daughter to prep her for this one. Tommy Lee Jones, Stanley Tucci. Like, I totally forgot they were in there. They're in the MCU. I really hope they're in Secret Wars also. You can bring back anybody. That's
yeah.
Okay, so focusing on the movie at hand, Carl Lumley's character, Isaiah, who you mentioned, was part of an experimental program to try to recreate what was done during World War II during the Korean War. And they get kind of close to it. He does get some superpowers, super strength, is able to live longer than he probably should have, considering what great shape he is in this movie. That said, it appears for reasons of national security, they just stuck him in prison for 30 years without any sort of trial. Things did not go too well for him and his super soldier teammates. Mm-hmm. Anthony Mackie, of course, is the new Captain America, Brave New World. He's been in the MCU since Winter Soldier.
He's Sam Wilson, yes. And then he became the Falcon.
Yeah.
Danny Ramirez as Joaquin, who is the new Falcon.
New Falcon, yes. You have Harrison Ford as the president. And then I'm going to say 2 names I will bleep at the moment because I think they're supposed to be spoilers, but I will unbleep them after the spoiler horn when we talk about them later. One is playing, and the other is who is returning to the MCU.
You know what? All Marvel movies should give us a 5-minute refresher.
Well, they used to do that on Disney Plus, the Marvel Legends.
Yeah. Why would they not just do that for us? Like, we're already in there for 2.5 hours.
Oh, yeah, before it starts.
Yeah.
We had some good trailers. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Well, actually, I thought this movie was going because it opens with a Marvel logo that's like black and white and kind of newsreel-y. I thought it was going to open with some sort of newsreel-esque type of an exposition dump that somehow connects events of World War II and the original Steve Rogers Captain America with whatever's going on now in some cool, interesting way.
Because we didn't get the Marvel like
We didn't get
where you see all the characters.
They didn't do that They didn't do the Marvel logo dance. We
didn't get the boom 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 boom.
I feel like there's a lot of widows. I don't mean black widows in this movie. Widows in the sense of
a lot of ideas.
A lot of ideas that used to go somewhere, but through the editing, rewriting, post-process, reshoots.
The fact that 5 writers got credit on it for the screenplay means how many writers
didn't get credit.
Didn't get credit and we're just punch-up people.
This is a presidential favor.
We're going to zero in on President Thaddeus Ross here. There's a lot of plot to this movie that, for spoiler reasons, we'll avoid at the moment. And let's just focus on what we can talk about.
Yes.
I.e. things that we know about the character in the MCU before the movie even starts. For example, we know that he first appeared in 2008's Incredible Hulk when he was played by William Hurt, in which he's portrayed as a father who just really hates his daughter's boyfriend. In Captain America Civil War, Ross has gone from a Captain Ahab of sorts, chasing the Hulk's Moby Dick.
He's the Hulk. He's the Hulk hunter.
The Hulk hunter, to now Secretary of State for presumably President Matthew Ellis, who we covered in our Iron Man 3 episode, who I'm going to go ahead and say was probably president for like the entire Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the MCU.
Yeah.
And it's in that movie that we find out that he went from a general to a diplomat because of a literal change of heart.
5 years ago, I had a heart attack. I dropped right in the middle of my backswing. It turned out it was the best round of my life because after 13 hours of surgery and a triple bypass, I found something 40 years in the Army never taught me. Perspective.
He had a heart bypass surgeries that made him now want to make love, not war. And so that might even explain why in that movie he makes it his chief goal to try to fuck the Avengers as much as he can with the Sokovia Accords. And then we see him again in Avengers Infinity War and in these standalone Black Widow movies. And then we do see him in Avengers Endgame, but it's unclear whether he's still in office or not, considering A, for all we know, he was bleeped out of his job. He might have been blipped. I don't think it's ever made clear whether he was or not. And B, we see a different president in Secret Invasion, not to be confused with Secret Wars. This is Secret Invasion, the Nick Fury-led Disney Plus Marvel series.
Which we covered last year.
And there's a different president in that one, President James Ritson, played by Dermot Mulroney.
Wow. We have covered so many presidents that I'm like, oh yeah, we did that one.
Yeah. As far as we're concerned, that series is noteworthy because it ends with President Ritson turning up the hateful rhetoric and declaring war on literal from outer space aliens living in the U.S., many of them simply here as refugees. And Nick Fury tells him, as a result,
"You took a bad situation and made it worse. That's real one-term president stuff."
And so I think that's kind of setting the stage for the fact that
he was a one-term president.
Yeah, and the opening of this movie, the movie opens on election night, a victorious election night for Ross. And you see Ross's acceptance speech, which is actually a very, how'd you describe it, Ben? Hopeful, optimistic?
Hopeful. He's bringing everybody together. That's the key word there, together.
Yeah. And that's not just an oversimplification. That's not us paraphrasing. His election slogan literally is just the word together, because he thinks that in the more complex world that we live in, the only way to face the threats, both foreign and domestic and extraterrestrial, is to do it together.
Well, also, he's being a kinder and gentler man in order to win back his daughter. So he's also doing it to get her.
Yes, which was, interesting play of words there. The word together is to get her.
Yes.
Very clever, Ben. Maybe they needed a 6th credited writer.
I'm still talking to the WJ about that one.
So it opens on election night, and then it quickly jumps forward 100 days. No. It jumps forward 5 months towards the end of the first 100 days.
Yes, he's very into his first 100 days.
He doesn't want to just make do on a couple campaign promises by the end of his first 100 days. No, he wants to establish his legacy.
Basically, he wants to lock down an international treaty within his first 100 days.
When the celestial mass emerged in the Indian Ocean, we did what we often do. We squabbled over it. Countries rushed in to claim it as their own, setting up research facilities to exploit its resources. What was found inside that island is nothing short of the discovery of the millennium. Its potential applications in tech, in medicine, in defense are immeasurable. It's even more indestructible than vibranium. And it's not controlled by an isolationist nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you adamantium.
And so I guess this is where kind of you have to have maybe been aware of one other Marvel movie, The Eternals.
The Eternals.
That movie ends with a planet-sized celestial being.
Which is like a god. A god seed was put in the middle of Earth.
We won't go into the mythology too much around that, except to say that that movie ends with this god seed sprouting, with this celestial awakening from some sort of slumber, and the top of its head and its hands are just breaking through the Indian Ocean, like mountains.
Yeah.
Before it stopped and turned into giant islands of stone. And then in this movie, since then, somewhere in the heart of these new islands formed by the celestial body.
Yes, it's called the Celestial Island is what it's called.
The celestial sounds. I would love to take a cruise to the Celestial Islands.
Yeah. Book the honeymoon suite on the Celestial Island.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good cruise ship too. But anyway, they do discover adamantium in the heart of this.
But what is adamantium?
It's what Wolverine's endoskeleton is made out of, Ben.
Oh, yeah.
And his claws. So,
but in this universe, they've never seen this before. They don't know what a Wolverine is. No. They don't know anything that happened in X1 or X2. All that stuff is not part of this timeline.
Unless they listen to our podcast episodes on X2, Ben. That's another
plug. Did do X2. Man.
Yeah. We've made many dips into the Marvel universe.
Well, anyway, it turns out like any good human, when they see a new piece of rock, they're like, let me drill into it and see what I could find. What's the worst thing that could happen if I drill into this giant godhead that's in the middle of the Indian Ocean? What could happen?
So what if it wakes up and completes its destruction of hatching Earth
really
wide open?
Piss it off, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, to keep it back on track of the presidential storyline here, what does President Ross make of all of this and this element that's found?
He thinks it's like the most amazing element that we've ever found. There's already vibranium on Earth, but the Wakandans control all of that.
And this is supposed to be better than vibranium
even
somehow.
Better than vibranium somehow. And you know what? Why are we going to fight over it? Let's share it. And when I mean let's all share it, I mean just the United States, Japan, India, and France. We're the ones that are going to share it.
Yes.
We'll be the ones who drill it, and then you could trust us to distribute it evenly amongst everybody.
The idea, at least, is to right now, at the onset, before any one nation's gotten too deep into it, is to establish some ground rules right here so that we can at least guarantee that no one nation will ever monopolize this thing as a source. So he is somewhat forward thinking there. A Ross who is thinking global, big picture, taking action now diplomatically to lessen the need for violence later.
People are still talking about the events from the Hulk in 2008, from 15 years earlier, where he's partially responsible for Harlem getting destroyed.
The other thing that we know, other than the fact that he's a peacemaker, is the fact that he's got anger issues. At least that's what the trailers would have us believe.
Yes.
Turns out his issue is less anger. Like, if there's any one emotion that I think defines him, it's probably loneliness.
Well, yeah, because his wife, he visits his wife's grave.
He lost his wife, and then Betty Ross, it's made clear, Betty played by Liv Tyler in the 2008 movie, she has not talked to him in years, presumably since the events of that movie, all because, he just tried to kill her boyfriend.
Yeah.
You're a girl dad. I'm a girl dad. Who among us has not thought of doing that?
But also, like, she didn't wind up with Bruce Banner.
In fact, does she know that he's, like, single again since the events of Endgame?
He's totes a veil. Not only is he totes a veil, he looks a little different now also.
Oh, actually, on the dad stuff, that is one of the things that was interesting about maybe not as a character, but at least as a superhero movie, because so many of these superhero movies, they give their superheroes and the side characters father issues. Like Tony Stark's always living in his dad's shadow, doesn't think he has his dad's full approval. In the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, both Gamora and Nebula are literally driven to kill each other by their bad dad.
Peter also in the second
Peter Quill,
movie.
has major dad issues. Thor and Loki have dad issues. Black Panther has dad issues. A lot of dad issues. This is the first superhero movie I can think of that has daughter issues. Like, I just want to live up to the ideals of my daughter and make her love me again. Prove to her I'm not the monster she thinks I am. Aww.
I'm not this red, raging monster.
No. Well, I mean, he is in some senses. But, he's not this warmongering general. He takes a pledge of peace, a vow of pacifism, more or less, that he really wants to keep mostly for his daughter. And we see that as this movie then spends almost its entire runtime. His entire story is really him flying around the world, doing everything literally possible to keep this peace treaty from falling apart, and to do it all before his 100th day in office. And without spoilers, I think we can say there are three things that do kind of present obstacles to him. The things threatening to destroy the peace treaty are, one, an assassination attempt at the White House, which is in the trailers.
We could say a Manchurian candidate style assassination plan.
Yes. A lot of White House action in this movie, both in the beginning and again at the climax.
Inside and outside, we see hallways, we see Oval Offices, we see roofs.
Number two, he's also battling leaks from within his own administration. Leaks that make foreign leaders, especially the Prime Minister of Japan, skeptical of working with him. And then he's got his own health. Throughout the movie, we see him taking pills and or sucking on lollipops.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure at first whether it was like a nicotine thing. Then it turns out he had a heart issue.
Yes, he's got the heart issue.
A broken heart.
Well, but I thought the lollipops was he couldn't smoke cigars anymore because of the heart issue. So he turned to the lollipops to suck on things now that he can't smoke because of his heart.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. But anyway, he's got a lot of ailments that are presenting impediments to his effectiveness.
Yes.
Yeah. And then on top of that, yes, all throughout, there's this whole Manchurian candidate thing going on with any soldiers with the wrong cell phone can be activated into.
or a walkie-talkie.
Walkie-talkie, as soon as they hear, what's this song? Mr. Blue?
Mr. Blue.
Mr. Blue. Whoa, whoa. Yeah.
Not, OD, if I OD'd, I would die. If I OD'd, I would die. When that, I'm so blue.
Blue. That's
that
what the song.
That should have been the song.
That's because that song was already used in the MCU. In Iron Man 3.
It was used in Iron Man 3 when he walked into the party, the 1999 party. I'm blue,
Should we go ahead and flip the switch now? Hit the spoiler horn.
Burr, 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 spoiler horn.
It's Tim Blake Nelson. He's the ultimate bad guy pulling all the strings. His character from the first Incredible Hulk.
From 2008's Incredible Hulk.
Yes, and has not been seen or heard from since. He was a...
Or asked about.
Yes.
Or wondered.
No. But that's what is ultimately what the president's secret is. After the events of the 2008's Incredible Hulk, there's a part in that movie where Bruce Banner, played by Edward Norton, goes to see Dr. Stearns, played by Tim Blake Nelson, to help cure himself of his Hulkism. And what he discovers is that Stern has been using all this Hulk blood sent to him to help find a cure and synthesizing it to basically make like bags and bags of it so that he could like actually do more than just cure Bruce Banner. He wants to take this blood and use its amazing properties to like help other people, so to speak. You know, not necessarily make other Hulks, but he's like, this is great. This stuff is so powerful. We could do anything with it. And Banner's like, oh, no, this is bad stuff. We don't need more Hulks. I don't even want to be the Hulk. And so it does set up there that he's a scientist who's pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable. But that said, he's not evil.
No, he's just, he might be interested in using his own product.
What happens is a little bit of Hulk blood gets into an open wound. Speaking of SNL characters, little massive head wound Harry. Yeah. Gets into...
You must smell my dog.
It winds up getting into his brain, and we don't see the character again after that, except it's implied that instead of getting super strength, he gets super intelligence. Boom. That's it. Not heard from again for how many years has it been since 2008? 16 years? 17 years? And he's back. He's the one pulling all the strings because it turns out that General Ross, imprisoned without a trial, Tim Blake Nelson's Dr. Stern's character, and used his amazing brain powers. And this is actually a clever line from the movie. Someone says, yeah, you have your own personal think tank, which is what he's doing. Yeah. He's using his brain to think up every possible political machination for Ross to follow to ultimately take on the presidency under the promise that once he becomes president, he'll let Tim Blake Nelson go.
And it's everything. It's not just policy decisions. It's down to whether or not he should keep his mustache.
Lose the mustache. I mean, in a weird way, I guess you can draw a parallel between this secret prison where Tim Blake Nelson is kept and, say, Guantanamo. The idea that there's this place where you just send people who you're arresting without trial and holding them indefinitely. That said, this prison is also a secret lab.
Laboratory.
Yeah, basically Stearns was given all the tools that he needs to, from this lab, initiate the Manchurian Candidate program that winds up blowing up Ross's entire presidency. And also, at the same time, Ross keeps going to him because he knows he's dying. His heart's going to definitely 100% fail. For some reason, a heart transplant is out for reasons that they don't get into, but he winds up going to... Sure, that's very Cheney-ish, the whole heart thing. But anyway, Ross winds up going to Stearns to help him with his heart. Stearns gives him pills that keep his heart in check, but the side effect...
However...
It's laced with gamma radiation, which he doesn't know. I guess no one keeps Geiger counters.
There's no flavor to gamma radiation. You would think it might be a little metallic-y, maybe?
And even though
it might a little burn, maybe like a little cinnamon, like big red gum, like a little that harsh cinnamony. I would think that's what gamma radiation would taste like, but I guess
you would think. I hated Big Red.
It had a good commercial, though. That was a smooching commercial.
Yeah, but it wasn't Juicy Fruit. Juicy Fruit's the one you wanted if you were a kid.
Yeah, Juicy Fruit. The taste is going to move you.
Yeah. Where was I? Oh, yes. He gives him the pills laced with gamma stuff, and slowly over time, that gamma is poisoning Ross to the point where he is turning into a secret Hulk.
Yeah.
Just waiting for that one anger outburst.
Just get it. It's going back to SNL. It's like the Barack Obama. Angry. Get angry.
Which was covered in our... We did cover The Rock.
That one. We did cover that. We did cover the Rock Obama.
In our SNL Sweet 16 tournament. Tune into that episode to find out how far Dwayne The Rock Johnson made it into our 16 top presidential impersonator tournament in SNL history. Okay, so what's interesting there... Actually, it's not interesting. What's uninteresting there is I don't think they ever say that anger is tied to gamma radiation. Anger was Banner's thing.
Yes.
Like She-Hulk has a whole different deal with how gamma affects her. You know, it's all about self-image, insecurity, and dealing with toxic masculinity, her own lack of confidence in herself. A woman trying to have it all. Like she's a regular Ally McBeal and winds up physically transforming into her ideal self when pushed the right way via... that stuff. But here, if he was going to have an emotional trigger, you'd think it would be something related to, like...
His daughter,
his depressive issues, his loneliness.
Especially that he did, as a character in other movies, he never had any problems getting angry.
No. That's what the president's hiding. And ultimately, he does Hulk out in the second climax of the movie.
Yes. And this movie is a two-ender.
Yeah, or what Spielberg went through a 4-act structure period for a bit. So what's interesting, the whole Marvel trailer thing, I know people were complaining about, well, they're giving away the Red Hulk in the trailer. And I'm like, yeah, they always give away something big. And you go to see the movie and you find out, oh, that happens within the first 20 minutes. And then the real surprise is the one they're holding back. And so this entire time, the later it got in the running time, I'm like, oh, they are holding back the whole thing.
It was almost like they were trolling us throughout.
Because he starts to like have these like anger episodes where he's like trying to control it. And if you know he's the Red Hulk, it creates a little bit of tension. Except if you know he's the Red Hulk in front of the White House, and you know he's not currently from the White House, oh, he's not going to explode here either.
But also, and we know what we know about Hulks after, seeing Hulks over the past 15, 16 years. Some Hulks retain their humanity
Yes.
as they're hulking out.
Right.
We don't know we don't know what this Red Hulk will be, or even why he's a Red Hulk. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, why red? That's an interesting choice. Is that their political statement, Ben?
Well, he definitely red-pilled.
Yes. Okay.
He definitely red-pilled.
That's the secret. It builds up to him turning into a red rage monster on the White House lawn, and he has to be stopped by the only person in the movie who does not have superpowers, but he's got vibranium wings, and that is Captain America. Look, I like Anthony Mackie. I like him as Captain America a lot. I love the way that he incorporates both the shield and the wings and the new vibranium elements that they have to give him in order to plausibly give him any chance of success versus of a Hulk. He needs that vibranium shielding.
Because he did not take the super serum.
Yes, which they make clear multiple times. He had a choice to take some serum, and he did not take some serum.
Does not want a juice. He doesn't want an asterisk next to his name.
No, he is. There's no Lance Armstrong in this guy. This guy does not wear a Live Strong bracelet. What's an example of a famous athlete who famously did not juice up?
Who's the name of an athlete who didn't cheat?
He's the Roger Maris of superheroes. So yeah, what more is there to say about the president before we get into our analysis?
One key thing, story point, he wants to restart the Avengers.
You and I haven't always agreed on how much latitude enhanced individuals deserve. But what you've accomplished has given me reason to reconsider. Which is why I want you, Captain America, to help me rebuild the Avengers.
Oh yeah, he wants to restart the Avengers before he changes his mind.
With Sam as being the head.
Tell Sam, I want you to restart the Avengers. And then an hour later, he tells Sam, I changed my mind. I actually don't want you to do that Avengers thing. But that was actually an interesting moment in that he wants to restart the Avengers, but on his terms entirely, so that instead of having an Avengers that answers to the UN, it would be an Avengers that answers to the President of the United States. He wants to do more things by executive order.
How? Because I'm the goddamn President of the United States of America.
What do we think his party is? Let's get into it.
I think he's definitely a Republican. Military guy.
But he's a military guy who wants peace.
Yeah, he comes around to peace because when Republicans, when they really start worrying about their legacy, that's, it's like Mitch McConnell this week. I know we're not talking about politics, but Mitch McConnell this week is like the lone no vote in all these confirmation hearings.
Well, no, there was 47, 48 other no votes.
Yes,
he's just the only one.
He's the lone Republican no vote in many of these confirmation hearings. Yeah. And you're like, fucking Mitch McConnell's the only one? That guy? This is the guy who stole Supreme Court seat from Obama? This is the voice of reason at this point for these dudes? It's like, yeah, because it's like his free pass to be like, well, look, I didn't vote for these crazy guys, so remember when you write my obituary, say that I didn't vote for RFK Jr.
Party, you're going Republican. I'm going to go Democrat because I feel like he's turning himself into a Wesley Clark. I think like what he's telling people is that, look, I've been in the trenches. I've been a general. Yes, I know how to fight. I also know how not to fight. And the reason why I think he specifically is going the Democratic route is because he's trying to impress his daughter, Liv Tyler. And I don't see any world in any movie, in any universe, any multiverse where Liv Tyler is a Republican.
Like clearly watching her character in Empire Records.
Yeah, she's a total Gen X hipster flower girl.
Was she in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, she's a fairy elf. I believe so. I'm pretty sure she did not vote for Sauron.
She was in the Aerosmith videos.
So Democrat, Republican, we're going to differ on that.
I mean, actually seeing the fact that he's interested in international diplomacy and is not just taking the adamantium. Okay, I could see maybe he's more of a Democrat.
There is one plot point in the middle when it looks like the treaty's falling apart, and Japan, which has already gotten a little bit of adamantium out of the celestial seasonings.
Just a little taste.
Yeah, he decides, you know what? Fuck all these international partners. I'm going to personally lead an entire naval fleet while still wearing his Air Force One jacket, even though he's on a destroyer. You think he'd change jackets to personally oversee the extraction of as much adamantium as possible before any other nation can get to it. Even if it means going to war with any nation that gets
actually,
in
so
their
now
way.
I'm back for them being a Republican.
Yeah, but that said, that is a late twist in his motivations. I'm still going to go Democrat.
And actually, they only have like 3 boats. I would think like if you're going to secure that area, you'd have a couple of more aircraft carriers. You'd have a bit more firepower if you're going to say like, okay, we could have done it the nice way, but now we're going to do it my way.
I'm nodding my head.
Yeah. We'll add the sound effects. We'll add the sound effects to how you nod your head later. It'll be like a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Motherfucker, I'm not asking if you're interested. I'm the president of the United fucking States, man.
So what does this movie say about 2025?
We're only
man?
2 months into 2025. Even though we're only 2 months in, it does feel as if it's been over a year and a half of 2025. So
This movie feels like it's been in production pipeline, development hell, whatever, for forever. It was first announced during COVID when Falcon and the Winter Soldier came up, and it's went through multiple delays and reshoots. And of course, we mentioned the added writers. I think this movie intentionally is trying not to say anything about 2025. I think they went through in the most recent reshoots and rewrites and editing to make sure it said as little about 2025 as possible. Because the last thing they want is for a red-pilled, literally quite red, anger management, fascistic president in the White House to in any way feel
who
like
has a weird relationship with his daughter.
yeah, to in any way possible be a sticking point for certain audience members who might not want to see a movie that is in any way critical of having a, let's just be honest, a red president who is portrayed as the bad guy. That said, there's nothing really Trumpian about him.
Nothing Trumpian about him. I would say you might think that he's a post-Trump president because of the idea of bringing everybody together. We're stronger together than we are apart.
I think President Whitson, played by Dermot Mulroney, was more Trumpian than this guy.
Yeah.
Because, like, look, if we're trying to find president analogs to this guy, we have to go into the pool of former generals. So, yeah, you got the Eisenhowers, you got the Washingtons. In fact, he's very Eisenhower-esque, I would say, as the former general who really is trying to play up his role as a civilian leader when he takes office. And I can totally see this guy giving the similar kind of speech that Eisenhower gave on his way out, warning of the military-industrial complex. Like, I can see if Ross didn't go out the way he went out, which we didn't even reveal how he went out. If Ross didn't go out the way he got out, his final speech leaving office probably would have been something about the cautions of the world to come.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going Republican now based on how he ends his career.
But because he ends up in jail, but he goes out taking responsibility for his actions.
How dare you come into this office and bark at me like some little junkyard dog? I am the President of the United States.
So, legacy and approval ratings, Ben.
The legacy of President Ross is the redesign of the White House because he destroys half of the White House after he hulks out in a fight where he uses a flagpole with the American flag on it to spear a fighter copter.
Yeah. It is interesting seeing the Secret Service turn
immediately. The Secret Service turned on him immediately when he became the Hulk.
But forget the fact that handguns have no effect on this guy.
Wait,
they are
never
very
mind the fact that they, at this point they have about 15 years of information on Hulks.
Yeah.
What works on
Don't
Hulks,
shoot.
what doesn't work on Hulks. Mainly with the Hulk, you don't want to get him angry. That's like
make
the
them angry.
key thing with the Hulk. You would think that in their training at this point, if you're in the Secret Service in the MCU and they're training you
on all the possible threats.
All the possible threats. There's a page about Hulks.
Yeah.
Right? You're like what to do if a Hulk tries to assassinate the president. What should you do?
See, that's what this movie was missing. It exists in a world where 30 different MCU movies have already happened, including TV series, and yet everyone is very surprised by even the most modest of superheroic type things happening. Like they should have protocols in place for everything.
Yeah.
And you could have fun with that.
Wait, at this point, there's a world with Skrulls. So even the person you're looking at could be an alien. Like,
well, that's my theory. My theory and I have nothing to back this up. I can't wait to one day see an oral history of Phase 5 of the MCU where they get into it. I feel like there was more of a direct connection to Secret Invasion, and all the people who had their minds controlled in this movie were actually Secret Skrulls, and they realized, oh, we can't do that because Secret Invasion did not get the reception we wanted. So let's just make them forget the whole Secret Skrulls thing, and they're just mind controlled.
Yeah,
soldiers. Yeah. Anyway, approval and legacy numbers.
Oh, so legacy, he'll be known as the Hulk president. He'll be known as the guy who destroyed half the White House. There'll be a constant reminder because do we get a new fancy White House? We'll see what happens in the future. Do you think that they go back to the same look, or do we get like a more modern take on the White House? But, I mean, people aren't going to like Ross after this. You know, you say, what do you say is usually the floor in polls?
What, in the 20s? Mid-20s is like...
It's below that. I think people are scared shitless of him. Nobody's like, yeah, I like my presidents when they Hulk out and can't control themselves and thunderclap and destroy blocks and ruin all the cherry blossoms. Because that's also, spoiler alert, spoiler horn, burr, burr, burr. He destroys all the cherry blossoms in D.C.
And they only bloom once a year, Ben.
They only bloom once a year. A lot of people came to D.C. for the sole purpose of seeing the cherry blossoms. I used to do that with my family growing up on the East Coast. There's a cherry blossom parade, which is lovely.
Oh.
It's a beautiful thing, and this president ruined it.
Oh, man.
Because he couldn't control his emotions.
Okay. I will kind of agree with you. I think I think usually that 20% of the population will always support whatever person has the party that they're registered by, regardless of what's happened. And so that becomes your floor. I think because of the specific unique events of this movie, it'll crack down to 19. I think he gets down to 19%. And I'm going to add one more metric for special two-timers. President Marshall versus President Ross. Ford versus Ford. Who's your pick? If you could see one more movie with this president, Harrison Ford playing a president, who would it be? Who do you vote for?
Let's trade them. Let's see how they would do in each other's movies. If we were to put Ross in Air Force One,
he was in Air Force One in this movie.
Yeah, he wasn't there. He was
on a Peloton.
If he's in the movie Air Force One, I think he would take out the Russians pretty quickly. I mean, I think he would also destroy the plane in the process, but it would be a much shorter movie, a much more compact story. If we had the president from Air Force One in this scenario, I think there wouldn't be so many issues with getting the treaty done. I don't think we would have had the prior history where he's keeping this guy with a Hulk's super brain in a special jail. I don't think he would pull that. So I guess I have to go with the president from Air Force One is the guy who I would want to be my leader.
Yeah. Definitely by the end of President Marshall's first 100 days, he would have the original Avengers fully reassembled. So that is President Thaddeus Thunderbolt. Ross, thank you for tuning in this President's Day.
Yes, thank you for tuning in to Fake Presidents. I've been Ben Oren.
I've been Eric Buckman. And yes, the music's playing, but don't tune us out just yet. Stay tuned in because I feel like there is an onslaught of new movies and TV shows with fake presidents to be released coming up.
Oh my God, I'm so happy.
Paradise currently airing.
Yes, Paradise.
Heck, even in the previews for this movie, we saw one for Mission Impossible with Angela Bassett playing presumably a president. And we know Angela Bassett's going to be in a Netflix series with Robert De Niro. Zero Day, where I think they both play presidents.
Yes, one's a former president, one's a current president. There's the Shonda show.
Yeah, with The Residents.
The Residents, which will have a president.
And you found a new trailer that you just sent me.
I did. This one looks fun.
G20.
G20 with it's Die Hard at the G20, but John McClane is Viola Davis, who's the president.
But the most interesting part to me is who the first gentleman is in this movie.
Anthony Anderson.
Yeah. Who I'm really hoping is playing Anthony Anderson.
He's great. I like Anthony Anderson.
A lot. So I have a funny feeling over the course of the next few months, we're going to be doing a lot of live check-ins on movies and TV shows as they're coming out. If there's any, let's call them big president classics, anything from the 90s, 2000s, 80s that you want us to cover,
Those are all
let us know.
decades. You like are really good at naming decades, Eric.
I'm pretty good. Watch this, Ben. 70s, 1970s.
And everybody can't see this right now. He's not looking at his notes.
Oh,
He's just freestyling right now.
Okay, watch this. 60s, 1860s.
I didn't even see
That's
that coming. That's
right.
That's what we call a twist.
If you can find a fake president from the 1860s, we will cover that. Oh shit! I just opened the door for Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Hunter.
Okay, so yeah, let us know. We will do it. And as the music winds down, we just want to wish you all a very happy President's Day.
The music, which is winding down, done by Johnny Sadoff.
And artwork by Ann Hecker. And of course, stay tuned after the music's over for something that we usually stick back there, unless we've cut nothing from this episode and you've heard it.
And then you heard it all. Dude, social media, you noticed I signed on to Blue Skies.
Ben's on Blue Sky now, everybody. That's where you can find us. You can find Ben Owen on Blue Sky. You can find Eric Buckman on Blue Sky. You can find fake presidents on Blue Sky. You can email us.
Blue Sky's fun. How come you didn't tell me Blue Sky was fun?
I've been talking it for literally, I think, 2 years now. I tried to send you a code.
This is so much fun. It's like Twitter before Twitter was disgusting.
Yeah,
it's much better than Threads.
Find us on Instagram. We're still on Threads too. We're out there.
Rate and review and subscribe.
Oh yes, please do. Please rate us. Because we haven't gotten a new review in a while.
We've got a lot of new eyes, and that's the thing. We've gotten a lot of new eyes to the show. So, you know.
Yeah, who knew that many people were waiting to hear a podcast about 2000's The Contender? But, you know, people were. Okay.
Enjoy your President's Day. Drive safely.
Don't
drink, drive. While talking about your favorite president.
Don't forget to vote. If you're listening to this near an election day, don't forget to vote. Because you could be listening to this whenever. I mean,
or if you're listening it over the summer, don't forget to vote for the MLB All-Star Game. If you want to see your favorite players in the game, that's like the best way to do it. You could vote up to 5 times per day online on MLB. I'm practicing in case we ever get a sponsor. I like to seamlessly work in brands just to show that I could do it.
Speaking of Russian assets about to achieve high office in the United States, we forgot to mention that what's revealed in here is that James Buchanan Barnes
Bucky
is running for Congress?
Yeah, Bucky's running for Congress as a 110-year-old super soldier. One-time
Nazi Russian super soldier.
The super soldier assassin.
Not only is he running, because we meet him briefly in his one cameo scene where he has to leave to go do a political fundraiser, but he's presumably the front runner. Everyone's already talking to him. Hey, it's the future congressman. Yeah. Although he hasn't shaved, he looks scruffy still. Got that.
That's the look. He has. Look, if you run for president, you have to shave. But if you're just running, maybe he's back to his neighborhood in Brooklyn. Maybe it's like super hipsters who live in his area, and he's appealing to them with the scruff.
I feel like the beard was less hipster and more Vancy.
Ugh.